So as you can see, made a little bit more progress in this area. Just put the dry stone walling in position. It's not glued down yet, just getting an idea of where I think that'll look right. I'm just working on the lane now, going up to where the cottages will be. The way I make my roads, I just use normal building sand painted over grey emulsion, and then tone it down with different scatters, some darkers, some lighter stuff. I think it looks really effective. As you can see here, this is grey emulsion paint with some building sand sprinkled over the top, PVA'd in, and obviously with an airbrush or dry brush method, just putting some mud down on it. As you can see, it's quite effective. So I've got my Metcalfe cottages on order. Not much more I can do in this area until I've built them really. Just been measuring up. I think it might be a bit of a tight squeeze to get both of them in there, but I'm going to do my best. Probably going to have a bit more scenics here. Just a really tiny sort of driveway in front of them. So I'm just going to move over to the right for now. So I'm classing this area as complete for now. Going to put some livestock in it a bit later on, a little bit more details to add in places. Just thought I'd show you this purple patches to replicate heather. And the way I've done that is just use some basic wax crayons, frozen them and then grated them. So I use a couple of colours, grated them while they were frozen into a dust, and then I've just sprinkled that on as if it's normal scatter, and then I've used the WWS layering spray, a good wet coat over the top of it, and it seems to have held it in really well. I'm really pleased with how that has come out. So I'm just having to go now at making some dry stone walls, and so far what you can see in the pot is cat litter, a dash of PVA. I'm going to add some polyfiller to it next, probably about the same amount as filler as cat litter, a dash of water, mix it up until it's quite a sticky, thick consistency. So I've already done a small amount. And you want the consistency so you can mould it in your fingers. Just doing a little bit at a time. And obviously once this is all dry, you can paint it grey, dry brush it with a bit of white, and maybe some blacks as well, and it should look quite effective. So that's the basis done now for the cottages. That's just building sand with a mixture of like a playing sand, so a lot darker. I've just mixed the two together just to give it a bit of a browner look, and then sprayed over with 50/50 water and PVA. That's rock solid, left a nice textured finish. So as you can see, I'm making a fair bit of progress now. Put the first coat of paint on round here. Just used a grey poster paint, really thin. Perhaps might go over it with some emulsion to get a darker grey to begin with. although I think that's looking quite effective with some blacks and some weathering. I think that might be okay. I've started putting a bead of PVA glue down just to hold it in place, because I did notice once this was dry it was moving around, so I've glued it all down, and the consistency I've ended up going with is almost like concrete. So if you've ever done a concrete floor, that sort of consistency, so more of a drier mix than a sticky mix that you'd use for perhaps say laying some bricks. So I'm going to carry on and then we'll do a bit more painting. So that's its first coat of grey. I'm going to give that 24 hours now to properly dry, and then try brushing it with some white, and then probably finish with a really black sort of wash, weather it down. Hopefully that will get the effect that I'm looking for. So after doing some homework, I realised I'd probably gone a bit over the top with my stone walls. I can't find many examples of where the dry stone walls actually follows the track and is used as a track boundary. So I've decided to pull a lot of it up. I've studied some photos, and generally they just split the fields, and then the railway company would have put its own boundary down, which would have either been fence posts, which would be going along here, or maybe hawthorn bushes even. So the dry stone walls are to split the boundaries, and the posts from the railway company. Started doing a little bit of detail down here, and again that's the wax crayon method, just over some Woodland Scenics weed. I think that's starting to look quite effective. So in the next clip you'll see how the stone wall follows the track work but isn't necessarily the boundary for the track itself. So I've painted them up now and added some foliage and scenery just to blend them in. I think they've came out really well. Still lots to do in this area, details to add, trees to add. So the method I used in the end to paint these dry stone walls, which have been made from the cat litter that you've seen previously, is actually painted them first in Magnolia normal emulsion paint, and then I used a black poster paint once it was dry, and the poster paint has acted like a wash because it's really thin and it doesn't cover well. The poster paint has just gone sort of a black and grey in the low spots, and then obviously left the magnolia colour revealed as well. I think I might add some greenery along the top edge. I think they might have worked. So the cottages have arrived. I've got them built, just having a play around on what position I want them in. Obviously we've got to weather them, put some greenery in places, just make them look not quite as new. That will probably be in part 4, or perhaps a new series on weathering cardboard kits. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. I welcome any of your comments and let me know what you think.